Welcome to the Not Superheroes Gets Dads podcast. No, we can't fly. No, we can't shoot lasers or pick up giant buildings. But what we can do is help set the foundations for our families, be present for our kids, and combat generational cycles. On this podcast, we dive into everything dad related, from the struggles we deal with as fathers to what our favorite thing to barbecue is. Hello, I am Sean Laurie, and today, guys, I have a special treat for you guys. Actually, shout out to Terrence as well, because if it wasn't for Terrence, I wouldn't have been able to connect with this amazing man right here. His name is, and let me make sure I say it right, Craig Kings, right?
Yes, sir.
Or Craig Kings. Okay, all right, okay. Um, what I like to do, man, but before we start, I like to do a little icebreaker too. So I know you're from New Orleans, right?
Yes, sir.
So are you a Pelicans fan?
Nah.
Okay, are you a Saints fan?
Thanks, man. Big time.
Oh, you are a big Saints fan. Okay,
Yeah.
who's your basketball, or you don't have a basketball team?
Nah, Lakers. So
Let-
back in the day when I became a fan of basketball, we didn't have no team. We didn't get the
Oh,
Charlotte Hornets until 2003. So I was a
yeah,
big
that's
Kobe
right.
fan. So I'm a Lakers fan. Lakers diehard, man.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
mean, hey, I'm from Cali, so everyone is probably happy that okay, we got another. I'm not a Laker fan, but I got a bunch of folks that is Laker fans, so
Yeah.
I'm sure they like that.
Yeah. It's rough for us right now, man.
Hey, y'all, it's a little difficult, man. But okay, real quick too. What you hope the Saints do as draft day almost, or by the time y'all hear this, draft will already happened. But what you hope that the Saints, what needs they need to address?
Man, it's so honestly, it's so much that people be thinking like it's like one or two pieces that can fix. The position we're
Yeah,
in right now is kind of like the Spurs, where like one or two players not gonna, you know what I'm saying, get us back to championship caliber. But
yeah.
I would say it's gonna take them a couple years in general of piecing that team pretty much back together or forming a new team. So I'm being realistic. Hopefully they make any type of good moves, quarterback wise, coach wise, like. But I don't see it being like a good for us for another couple of years.
Okay. Hey, at least you're realistic. I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
man.
um, but yeah, guys. So I have this amazing man right here today because he's doing a lot of great things right now. And I know we talked about a little bit about the entrepreneur space, but he has so much he's doing. It's called like make sure I say it right. It's Cajun King. Is
Kings
that correct?
Cajun.
King's Cajun. So you
Kings
just
Cajun.
correct me too. King's Cajun. King's Cajun. I'm tripping. Okay, so just tell me a little bit about that, bro, and how you actually got that started with King's Cajun.
Well, believe it or not, I always been an entrepreneur for a long. I can say always, but for a long time, I've been an entrepreneur. I started off my first entrepreneur endeavor was in college. I went from dancing at the parties to the one throwing the parties. So I did that for a few years till it, pretty much died out. You know what I'm saying? Where we're mature, we too old to, what I'm saying, and mature to be in
Yeah,
that type
yeah.
of setting. So I wanted to switch it up and do something different. So I got into sales. I was a salesman for DirecTV. Those same annoying people you see in Walmart and Costco, like, who do you have for your cable? Believe it or not, I respect those guys because, like, sales is a tough thing. Like, you got to get used to hearing the no more than the yes. But the beauty is in the yes. So granted, we was making about 125 to 150 per sale. So if you get two of those a day, that's 250 to $300. So
Yeah.
anyway, fast forward, it was a part of a third party marketing firm for DirecTV. It wasn't directly through DirecTV. So they had ways where you can level up from account manager to assistant manager to being a branch manager. And being a branch manager means you can run your own branch. So I pretty much worked my way up in the ranks from like 2013 to like 2015, so maybe about a year and a half. And I got qualified to become a branch manager, which means I'm the owner of my own third party firm. So the
Mhm.
market that I chose was Cleveland, Ohio. And I moved to Cleveland, Ohio in 2015 after I got married. And, with us having our first child, things was kind of rough, just being that far away from home and not having any help or family around and things like that. So we shut that down, moved back to Houston before coming back to San Antonio. But I always knew, after running my own business, that I don't really want to work for anybody. If I have to, I would, but I don't necessarily. That's not my end goal in life. That's not my vision. So I wanted to get back to running my own, type of business And I didn't want my wife to be fully invested because she quit her job and everything to work with me when we moved to Ohio. So
Mm.
we pretty much had everything coming from that one business. So long story short, I started working for a couple of regular jobs here and there when I moved back from Houston to San Antonio in about 2018. My daughter's now about 2, and COVID pretty much hit. I want to say the following year, like 2019. And I remember for a fact my wife actually got furloughed from her job, and at the time,
Oh wow.
I think I was in between jobs at the time. And I remember her coming in the room and saying how she got furloughed, had to explain to me what furlough even mean because I didn't know what that means. She was like, basically, I'm only going to work 2 weeks out the month because they can't afford to pay me for the whole month, which means I'm only going to get paid for 2 weeks per month. So at this time, I knew for a fact I had to kind of either get a higher paying job, which I probably wouldn't even qualify for at the time, or just go back into entrepreneurship. So during the time, I know one thing that was essential was food and drinks, right? When we couldn't even congregate together or be in the same facilities. So I had a friend of mine, he owns Wing It and Sip It Daiquiri Shop. So I don't know if you're familiar with Sip It Daiquiri Shops around San
Yeah.
Antonio. So a friend of mine, Bernardo, him and another good friend, Daryl, they're the ones that own it. So me and Bernardo actually used to be the ones throwing parties together at UTSA when I told you I went to throwing parties. So when I
Mm-hmm.
seen what he did with the daiquiris, that's when they first started allowing daiquiris to go. So, of course, his business took a hit as well because people can't really come there and things like that. But when they started allowing alcoholic substances to go, where you can just put, a piece of tape over it and people can take it to go, man, he hit the news. He got the booming. So I actually, hit him up and I was like, hey, man, I don't know what I want to do exactly. I got my mind on it, but at the same time, I know I need to be an entrepreneur. I know I need to be running my own business. So I pretty much sat down with him, asked for some advice, and pretty much the rest is history, man. I pretty much like took off from there. I wanted to do something I was passionate about, and I remember coming here for college in 2008, and everything I looked for that was like Cajun related or New Orleans type of food, we couldn't find it. So like God gave me the vision, was like, you know what? If you can't find it, then you be it. You do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I drew up Kings Cajun on paper. My brother runs a big fruit and vegan business in New Orleans called Fruit Orleans. I actually had him come down here to kind of show me how to LLC my business and get things underway. And between sitting down with him and sitting down with Bernardo, we started doing small pop-ups, got our logos and brand and stuff like that put together, and we pretty much went from pop-ups to having a food truck a couple of years later that we was renting, and we pretty much want to get another one again, but the guy didn't want to sell it to us. But we went from doing like pop-ups to understanding that crawfish season is a big deal out here from February to July, and we've pretty much been consistent at doing these pop-ups and being good at marketing Cajun food and the fact that I'm from there and it's authentic and things like that over the course of 5 years. And that's pretty much how we ended up doing the Taste of New Orleans this year for the first time.
That's dope, man. That's hella dope. So, uh, was it something then? Was that like you said? You wanted to be an entrepreneur, but was it something where you was just like, hey, this is something I'm really passionate about, or was it more so just like, hey, this is a need and I wanna fill this need?
It was a combination of those two things and a third thing, which was security, right?
Mm,
The need needs to be filled, but also the fact that I knew for a fact this is essential. This is pandemic proof, right?
mm,
So
yeah,
even if the pandemic happens again tomorrow, I can bank on not one having my own company, but then two having a company that will survive another pandemic. You get what I'm saying?
mm,
So
yeah,
that's mainly where my mind frame was with it, because I'll never forget. It's kind of like I'm traumatized from when my wife came in that room and saying that she got furloughed. So I'm like, I don't ever want that feeling of being working for somebody else's company, and they could potentially say, "Hey, we can't pay you next week, or we can't afford to have you." That's basically a layoff, an unexpected layoff,
yeah.
right? So like feeling that need of New Orleans and Cajun style food that's authentic, but also like I said, doing something that's pandemic proof. And food and drinks are always essential. People got to eat, they got to drink, they got to survive.
So, cause how many kids do you have right now?
I have three little girls.
You have three little girls, which is a blessing. So you have I don't know how many kids at that time you had when your wife wasn't feeling good and you like, man, I'm gonna go in this entrepreneur lane. My question to you is, how did you deal with that fear and that doubt? Because right, it's just natural as far as, okay, dang, I gotta really just step up and take this load on because my wife, she's not able to contribute like she wants to right now because she
Mm-hmm.
has this, right? And then also, but I am a father. So how did you deal with that? Because it's just natural to be like, or was it something where you didn't even question it at all? You just went head in first and was like, man, this is just what I'm gonna do. But if so, then how did you kind of deal with that self doubt? Because naturally, right, as men, and fathers, we're providers. Like that's what we want to do. So it's one of those things like, you know what, I'm gonna just go to this company over here because at the end of the day, I know it's easy, right? It's
Uh-huh.
easy. I can get over here, clock in, clock out. I know every 2 weeks or whatever, I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this amount every
Yep.
single time because I did my 40 hours or whatever cases. So how did you push through that when it's so easy to just go to the default?
So that's actually a good question. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't dive directly into entrepreneurship. When that happened, I got on straight on Indeed and started looking for a job. Let's just be honest. Like
Yeah,
this, these bills not gonna stop rolling. You get what I'm saying? So it's like, yes, you can have an idea and a vision for a business, but at the same time, it's not gonna happen overnight. You have to build that up. So what I did was I started looking for regular jobs, like that, that willing to train. I may not have the qualifications for it. And it's funny, I actually found this water company because I don't know if you remember, but water was like scarce as well. Like you couldn't really find
yeah,
water, toilet paper, and things like that. So it's this company that moved here from Seattle called Water Station Technology. They're the ones that provides the machines at HEB. So where
okay,
people go fill like the 3 gallon and 5 gallon jugs outside
yeah,
that water machine. I applied to them to be a service technician. I was just applying to different jobs. They the ones that
yeah,
contacted me back. I went in for an interview. There was like $16 an hour. We're gonna pretty much show you everything. You basically gonna be servicing these machines. We're gonna give you a company work van. You go and service them, make sure all of the cash in there is right. Take whatever, what I'm saying, take the money, bring towards the end of the day. You hit about 12 to 15 machines a day. And man, honestly, that went from being a service technician to actually like driving a 26-foot box truck, dropping these water machines off all around Texas. I'm talking about like Del Rio, Midland. I done went to pretty much every city by myself. Went from like not knowing nothing about this company to driving a 26 feet box truck, dropping
mm,
off like 12 machines around the whole state of Texas. But I took it as fear versus fate. Like I could have
yeah,
easily crumbled in this moment, but I told myself, if I'm going to work somebody's job, first of all, it's going to be pandemic proof, right? It's something that I can be here as long as I want to until I feel like I can fulfill my next goal, which is, become an entrepreneur again. So I already had the plan to basically draw up Kings Cajun while working for this company, right? So I'm like, okay,
mm,
cool. I'm gonna just stay here and while I can help my wife with the bills, but I promised myself I'm not working for nobody else because they can tell me they don't need me tomorrow. The pandemic will be over, they probably not getting as much business with these water machines, X, Y, and Z, or
yeah,
they just want me to hit a quota, get all these machines set up, and we can hire somebody else for a cheaper dollar to go service them, whatever the case may be. I just didn't want my future or the my ability to provide for my daughters to be in the hands of someone else. So the whole time while I'm there, I only stayed there maybe 4 to 6 months. But the whole time I was stacking up, drawing up Kings Cajun, LLC, and like I had already LLC before I even quit the job. You get what I'm
mm,
saying? But it's like,
yeah,
Mom always said, don't leave something for nothing. So I'm always mindful to make sure that I have another backup plan before I even, leave somewhere. That's why I just didn't dive straight into, entrepreneurship because that wasn't consistent income, for starters. So I'm like, you
yeah.
know what? I'm gonna get some money while I'm drawing this up, and then once I draw this up and I take off, I'm not looking back.
No, that's real, bro. And I mean, at the end of the day, too, because I think so many times we get in this place, or we hear it like it's almost like glamorous, or it's like, oh, you know what? Now I just started entrepreneurship. Like at least a lot of times in people's mind, right? It's like, oh, I get started right away. But for you to be like, no, you know what? I actually did have to go get a job and then stack up and then kind of map it out how I wanted to do it. It wasn't one of those things I could just jump straight into it, right? And so, because I think too, the perception is like everyone says they want to have a business. Everyone says I want to be a boss and all these different things. And so, I guess my question to you, because of that, since everyone wants to be that, what's the hardest part of being an entrepreneur?
If I had to answer that like just straight off the dome, the hardest part of being an entrepreneur, I would say discipline and consistency.
Mm,
I feel like if you put those two things together, um, I just think that you have a good formula for success. And the reason why I always put those things together because it's not about just being disciplined one time or in one area. It's about how consistent you are at being disciplined amongst multiple areas, right? Your spiritual, your mental, your physical, financial, all of those things matter. But also how often, right? How consistent you are over time at being disciplined at these things. So I just think that being an entrepreneur, you got to realize it's risk versus reward. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot of stuff that's going to come your way. Family members, may not support you. You can't. First of all, if you count on your family and your friends to be your first supporters, you really ain't gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Gonna make it nowhere. Not far, not fast at all. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that's a lot that you have to gear up for and understand how to be disciplined through it all because there's gonna be a lot of stuff that come your way that just you never expected. There's gonna be things that don't come your way that you did expect, like so it's
yeah.
like I just think just discipline and consistency. I would say, with your spiritual growth, physical, mental, your mental health, financial growth, your family, like all of those pillars and principles that you stand on. It's about how disciplined and consistent you are in those areas, because entrepreneurship gonna be there, but only the strong survive.
Mm, no, that's real. So how do you, and maybe you are able to incorporate your family into it, but how are you able now? Like I know before the previous jobs, at times you would travel, you'd be away from your family, but how have you been able now to kind of balance that where you can maybe incorporate your family in it, or is it one of those things where there is still times where you can't have your family involved because of different things you got going on with your business?
Yeah, so that's a good question. This year, actually, something different happened where I'm at this spot called McIntyre's North Star. McIntyre is only 21 and up, so which means that my kids can't come, when they want to come and things like that. Whereas I have other places that I've set up before April, where it's kid friendly to a certain time and things like that. And previous years before this year, my daughters are used to at least coming with me every now and then. So now I can't really incorporate them unless I'm doing a family friendly type of event. Um,
Mm,
but I try to make sure that I'm utilizing my time throughout the week when I'm not working or focused too much on the business, that I'm doing a lot of things with them. So me and my daughters go somewhere fun once a week, no matter what. Like it got to be at least once, no matter what. It's a jump place. They get to choose play plays. It can be to the park or whatever. But we have to do something fun every single week, at least once, sometimes twice. So because I know on the weekends I'm not necessarily seeing them as often as I would, and not having that time that I would. And this is only pretty much for crawfish season. Crawfish season is my busiest season of the year. Like I said, from the beginning of February to the beginning of July, those 5 months, my daughters don't have no understanding of why is daddy not spending as much time with us, X, Y, and Z. But granted, they doing more stuff during the week than they pretty much will be doing on a weekend, but they don't see it as such. My oldest is the one that's in school. She's 7. She's in first grade, and she feels like because she's off on the weekends that I should be off on the weekends, or they should,
yeah.
what I'm saying, like she don't want to do stuff in between school and whatever the case may be. But like I said, and then which we could talk about. I also, my daughters are real big on like TikTok, and like they be telling me what to do now. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they find joy, and we find joy as a family like actually incorporating them in other stuff that we going on that's have gone on that's outside of just Kings Cajun.
That's dope. Yeah, that's and you got three girls. I got two girls. So one is 18, and then I got my 7 year old as well. So
Oh,
they
that's what's up.
both different times be. I mean, I love them both. Like they're my world. But yeah, they both at times be driving me crazy in different ways, but
Girl,
but in a loving way, right? In a loving way, and so definitely I could definitely relate where you said spending that time and things like that because they don't comprehend certain. Well, no, my oldest does. My youngest one doesn't comprehend. When I have certain things I got to do. So I definitely feel you on that, bro.
yeah, and
Um,
it's understandable, right? Like at the end of the day,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, put yourself in their shoes at that age, like
But well, the dope part for you too is like you said, like your craziest season is for like these 5 months, and then it's not as crazy where you can be able to spend time with them a little bit more, right? So
definitely.
like that's the dope part is like you have, and as she gets older, obviously she's gonna be able to appreciate that. Like man, okay, it's literally this stretch that my dad is like it's super hectic, but after that, like I get to have my dad to myself. You know
Yep.
what I mean? So that's pretty dope that you had that where like I said, as she gets older, she'll realize that, like, dang, like that's not the norm. Like, I get to have all this time with my dad, where others might not because they're working 12-hour shifts, six
Exactly.
days a week, or you know what I
Exactly.
mean, something crazy like that. So that's dope, man. So my other question to you as well. So as you being a father, a husband, right? We are naturally, or we're supposed to be at least. A lot of times we're supposed to be the leader of the household. Um, and I think at times we kind of think it's similar as far as okay, I'm leading my family, so I'm able to lead with this business. What would you say is the difference between those two, or do you feel like it is the same? Where that if you are a pretty good leader with the household, you should be able to lead in a business. But at least for me, I feel like there's a difference there, and as men, we think like it's gonna be something that's super easy. I get not easy, but a easier transition because hey, as a man, you're naturally a leader. You're supposed to do this, do that, but not understanding that no, when it's a business, you're leading in a different way.
Yeah, no, it's definitely different. It's definitely different. It's a lot of things as far as a man leading your household that you have a lot of patience for. Business is business, right? So technically, it's no way that those can actually even be the same because your family is personal and your business is business. My wife even knows, like anything that business wise, it doesn't come home, right? So like just like you can get fired and you still my wife. You get what I'm saying? So it's like I think leading your business, leading your family is two totally different things. Especially being a girl dad. Girl dad, like dads in general are important, but girl dads I feel like are much more important just due to the fact that we are scientifically trying to figure out a whole nother species that we have
Yeah,
nothing to relate to as far as like just being a female, like from born to whenever you pass, but
yeah,
we have no recollection of understanding. We can't empathize. We can sympathize. We can't empathize. We've never been a girl, never will be, right?
yeah,
So it's my level of patience at home would never probably be the same in a workspace. You get what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely because you're right. Because with my girls, with my boys, my patience is very short. But with
Yeah.
my girls, for sure, because I'm like my boys can handle it. Well, my youngest one, he's only what 5. Dang, he's 5 now. He's 5. So for him, I can't be as hard as I want to at times because he's 5. I get it.
Right.
So all right. So I definitely I definitely understand that for sure. So what would you say? At least I could be wrong. I'm not gonna say what would you say, but has your wife been, from what I've seen, or yeah, I'll phrase it like this. From what I've seen, a lot of times, they always say, right, behind every successful man is a amazing woman, right? Is a great woman.
Oh
So,
yeah.
how has your wife helped elevate you in your business and understanding that, like you said, like she knows, hey, you know what, not to take the business at home, but I'm sure there's probably been late nights where you're mapping out certain things, you're bouncing off different ideas with her, right?
Hmm.
So how has she been able to really contribute or even help elevate you in what you're doing?
Oh man, she actually gets my highest honor, believe it or not, man. Like I'm just the face of it. I'm good at what I'm good at, and I'm not good at what I'm not good at. And the things I'm not good at, she assists me a lot. She technically works 7 days a week, 24/7 when it comes to my business and her working from home. Um, when it comes to organization, she's the one behind it all. Like she, the reason why I got buzzers now for customers instead of just writing on tickets and getting names. She helps me with the prep. She, anything I need to order from Amazon as far as decorations, getting menus created, like just the very technical and meticulous stuff that I just don't like to do. She just, gets it done. Like I said, I'm the one that's gonna do the labor. I'm gonna do the marketing. Like I said, I'm the face. I'm gonna talk to the customers. I'm going to handle any. I'm just the owner, right? But at the end of the day, when it comes to operations, like she's the one behind the scenes on all of these things. You get what I'm saying? So I always make sure that I incorporate her. That's why this year, this whole crawfish season, I pretty much had her at the front now. She takes all the orders. I don't take any orders anymore. Like any of the administrative stuff that I don't want to even touch, where I can focus on just grinding out and teaching other employees how to do the things I know how to do. I can have her take care of the front end of the house, and I can take care of the back end. So yeah, man, just having her she is the reason why we are even in a lot of the spaces that we're in this year now.
That's dope. That's a blessing. Definitely, I definitely can relate to that as well, man. Where at least for me, it's like all these different ideas, all these different things I want to do, and sometimes I'm not sure how to go about it, right? And then my wife is able to help. It's almost like I have these different puzzles, and I'm trying to figure out which one I want to start with, and I just
Uh
dump it all on the table, and she's like, no, put some over here, put some over here. Now let's focus on this, right? So I definitely can relate on that, where it's like a lot of behind the scenes where people wouldn't think about, right? But you're like, man, no, this is so critical. So that's dope, bro. That you guys are building this together. Well, you guys could already been building it, but it's continuing to grow. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah.
So how do you have? Because for those that don't know, in San Antonio, it's a big thing. It's the fiesta, right?
Uh
And for you, you're from New Orleans, so Mardi Gras. I'm sure it's kind of similar in a sense, or as far as party vibes, right? It's not the same, but
right.
party vibes. So, um, is this when it's like really hectic for you? I know you said like this season in general, but is the fiesta where it's like really just crazy for you, and that's where your name really gets to even spread even more, just because there's so many people out, young, old. It's a big event out here in San Antonio.
Yeah. So for Fiesta, doing the Taste of New Orleans, I feel like gave us more exposure than we would have had around San Antonio and other areas.
Mm-hmm.
But we pretty much been building this all year.
Mm-hmm.
I spent time in my first couple of months this year. Actually, I call it a Kings Cajun tour. So I've been to places that I've never been to before, and set up and boiled that. And basically, I told myself I wanted to do events this year. I don't want to be set up at the same place every week. People get used to seeing me, and so the fact that I'm doing a tour. I've done like Alamo Beer Hall. I've done Hang Time. I've done Idle Beer Hall. I've done, McIntyre's a couple times. I just done different places where people, it's like, it's hard to catch me. You get what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, now that we end up getting into the Taste of New Orleans, that kind of just put a stamp on everything that we was already doing. Because we pretty
Mm-hmm.
much got people following us from, this location to this location. And you're like, oh, where you gonna be at next weekend? So we
That's
got
dope.
a lot of these businesses getting exposure and customers they wouldn't have without us being there. Just like we're
Mm-hmm.
gaining business from a lot of these places that we wouldn't have, if we wouldn't be at
Yeah.
these places. If you're at the same place every single week, people stop appreciating you as much. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not as rare anymore. So,
Yeah.
doing that and then, putting our foot in the ground for the Taste of New Orleans, it kind of like it just brought everything together.
That's dope, bro. So I'm gonna ask you these last two, that then we'll get ready to close it out. I don't want to take too much of your time, but um, my first question is with the LLC. So you say you did that first. So was it because sometimes I hear at times it's one of those things, people get so caught up in trying to get the LLC and they don't actually start the business. Is that the
Mhm.
best way to start it, or is it okay to start the business depending on what you're doing and then go for the LLC?
So I would say before you even LLC, you got to have your vision on paper, right? So the first thing I did was I consulted with people that was already in the industry that I'm in, right? People that are successful in this industry. Um, I have the vision, right? So it's up to me to fulfill it, but I got to put all of the pieces together in order to fulfill this vision. It's not going to just be like, oh, let me get an LLC. This is what I want to do. It's just going to happen. So if you are to see somebody in the industry that you want to be in or similar, ask questions. I feel like, like put your pride aside and ask questions, man. Like somebody is doing something you want to do, or they know somebody that's doing what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like you can get help. So I just feel like actually writing as much down as possible so you can learn from other people's mistakes, and stop trying to just have everything figured out on your own. I think, building that brand, like marketing, like telling your people about it, not just, like I say, your family and friends, putting yourself out there. I think, that part matters first. In the process, I would still LLC the business, because if you want to eventually start getting any type of like transactions, cash or debit, or anything, you're going to need LLC in order to get like a Square Reader account, or Clover for merchant services and things like that. So the LLC is going to be important down the line, but I think building the brand for what you're doing and what you're trying to do is more important, if you ask me, before LL. Because like I said, anybody can go LLC a business, and you sit there and start something and it's not, what I'm saying, flourishing how you thought it would, because you never really built it up.
That's real. That's real. And then my last one for you, and there's no right answer, obviously, just any way you view it. But how do you how do you define success for you? And then what is your vision? If it's one of those things, because I'm the type of way too. I don't like to reveal too much. So if you just want to give a vague type of answer for this one, that's fine too. But what is success to you? And then what is one of your goals? How about that? What is one of your goals in the next 5 years for Kings Cajun?
So to answer the first question, so success to me, I feel like it's striving to be better than who you was yesterday. First of all, you know, that could be in any area, any type of small accomplishment that you can just, okay, I checked this off the list. I did something I said I was going to do. I'm a 1% better than I was in this area. Just get better and keep going. So I feel like that's what success is. It's a constant thing. It's not just if I hit this goal, I'm successful. I just think that it's a collection of things. Um, so one to answer the second question, one of my main goals is to build the entire King brand. So I didn't have a dad around, uh, to actually show me how to do these things. So my biggest thing was to, okay, I want my daughters to have options, right? I don't want them to just think, okay, go to school, get a good job, and get married, live, like, just this basic thing that was success for us. I want them to, first of all, feel like, okay, you get through school, you have options. You can either be an entrepreneur, you can go military, you can go to college, you can get a scholarship academically or athletically. Um, you have so many other, you can pick up a trade. Like understanding how credit works, like no one tells you to go to school with and just go, and nothing about student loans, and then you end up in debt. So now you're working to pay off debt so it's so many things that are like missing in between. Go to school, get a good job, get married, buy a house, have kids, whatever. There's so much in between that's missing, that I just want my daughters to know the luxury of having options, right? Like you see one of your parents working a job, you see one of them being an entrepreneur. You seen one of them go acquire student loans. You seen one of them had a full ride scholarship, from running track, which is my wife. So it's just, I want them to understand what the options are of life, and just help them be able to make the best choices in life when it comes to having those options. So as we build this King brand, it's gonna be in so many ways. It's gonna be with the King's Cajun seafood. My wife has King Creatives, where she does like balloon arches, party decorations, hair baubles for the kids. We are brand ambassadors online, like I said, with our family page. So like promoting other brands and them paying us for our name, image, and likeness, just like they're doing in college now. So, like I just want this brand to be built overall to where, the King name and having the King last name is substantial, you know?
Mm, that's dope. That's dope, bro. I love it, man. And, I definitely want, I'm actually gonna check out, man. I'm gonna make sure I tap in and check out, King's Cajun as well, man, because that what you doing, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. So I definitely want to
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
support what you're doing. And a lot of people say they support and they don't really do it. So I'm definitely going to do that. But real quick too, tell the people where they can find you on social media and all that.
Definitely, man. So I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook under Kings Cajun, KINGSCAJUN. And our family page, we just hit over 10,000 followers on that page. It's One King Squad, ONEKINGSQUAD. And that's on
Dope,
TikTok
man.
and Instagram.
And Instagram. So make sure y'all follow, man. That's dope. And like always, guys, make sure you guys are like, you subscribe. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Also on YouTube as well, man. I know I was kind of late to it, but everyone tap in with YouTube. The feedback's been amazing, so I definitely appreciate that. And I appreciate you too as well, Craig, just for your time, man, and being that example and being that standard for your girls, for your family. And shout out to your wife as well for you guys both being that example and being that standard as well. So that's a
For
beautiful
sure, man.
thing, man. Um, but yeah, guys, like always, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and you don't have to be perfect. Remember that. But you always have to be present. I'll see y'all on the next one.